morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. Again, I'm Aris Obando. I'll be your host for today. And we have an exciting lecture for today. Uh, but of course, before we proceed with the lecture, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Emeritus Carmelita Quebenco, also the Vice President for Research and Innovation, Dr. Raymond Tan. Of course, before we even proceed with the lecture, we would have an introduction to the Sustainability Lecture Series. Let's all welcome the Vice President for Research and Innovation of De La Salle University, Dr. Raymond Tan.
Okay, Aris, kindly let me know if you can hear.
We can
Good
hear
day,
you
everyone.
clearly.
I'm Professor Raymond Tan. I'm the Vice President for Research and Innovation of De La Salle University in Manila, Philippines. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this edition of the 2024 Sustainability Lecture Series. De La Salle University is a member of a network of Lasallian higher education institutions known as IALU. IALU has member institutions in 5 different continents: the Americas, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and Eastern Asia. De La Salle University is a private, comprehensive Catholic university, initially founded as De La Salle College in 1911. We are now 1 year removed from our Golden Jubilee as a university and have seen extensive growth in research productivity over the past 50 years. We are ranked first among Philippine institutions in terms of research output in this decade to date. We are the most heavily funded private institution in the country and have seen a 7-fold increase in research output over the past 10 years. As a result, we are ranked by the Times Higher Education World University Rankings of research-intensive institutions, and are also top ranked in the following subject areas: physical sciences, social sciences, engineering, computer science, business and economics, education, and arts and humanities. The Sustainability Lecture Series is inspired by 2 documents that were published in 2015. Number 1, intended for the Catholic world, was Pope Francis's Laudato Si encyclical. Number 2 were the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, intended for the secular world. But what is interesting to note is that these 2 documents have a strong intersection in seeking sustainable development for the entire planet. And these provide the basis for the series of lectures that we've held since 2021. The Sustainability Lecture Series is organized by a core group, initially consisting of Professor Dr. Kathleen Aviso, the current Dean of the Gokongwei College of Engineering, Dr. Carmelita Quebenco, the former President and current Chancellor Emeritus of De La Salle University, Professor Dr. Alvin Colaba, the Director of the Center for Engineering and Sustainable Development Research, which is the organizational host of this lecture series. And we were joined last year with the support of Professor Dr. Aristotle Obando, current Assistant Dean for Research, and former PhD student, Dr. Maria Victoria Nigo Sumaga, and of course, yours truly. Since January 2021, we've dealt with diverse topics in sustainable development, holding lectures online on various topics the last Wednesday of each month. The lectures have been recorded for the most part and are available in a dedicated YouTube channel. The lectures have been viewed thousands of times by different viewers asynchronously, in addition to the live audience that we normally have. And of course, the resource persons are drawn from the global IALU network and we've had speakers from different continents talking about global and local concerns. As we begin a new year, we look at what lies ahead. And first and foremost, we've decided to partner with the newly formed University Sustainability Office at DLSU, which will provide logistical support when we look at new issues, when we consider new formats, including hybrid lectures with a live audience inside the university. So these are what are in store for us in the coming year. Thank you and good day.
Thank
Good
you
day,
very
everyone.
much. Thank you very much, Dr. Tan, for introducing the De La Salle University Sustainability Lecture Series. Okay, so we are now ready for the lecture. And of course, allow me to introduce the one who would introduce the speaker. We would have, of course, the director of the Center for Engineering and Sustainable Development Research, Professor Dr. Alvin Colaba. But before I give the floor to Dr. Colaba, allow me to introduce first the center. The center is the Center for Engineering and Sustainable Development Research, or CESDAR in short. This is the research arm of the De La Salle University Gokong Wei College of Engineering. It is mandated to promote, catalyze, and crystallize scientific activities in engineering, sciences, and technology to achieve strategic advances in complex engineered systems and firm-level technologies necessary for the sustainable development of the country. So let us all welcome the director for the Center of Engineering Sustainable Development Research, Professor Dr. Alvin Colaba.
Thank you, Professor Aris Ubando. De La Salle Brothers, Chancellor Emeritus Carmelita Quebenco, Vice President Raymond Tan, Dean Kathleen Aviso, Professor Aris Ubando, our colleagues at De La Salle University and LaSallian schools all over the world. Good morning, good evening to everyone. Our esteemed speaker for this morning is a licensed practitioner in the field of civil and environmental engineering, having worked with the Department of Public Works and Highways in Region 8 in the Philippines as an environmental impact assessor of public infrastructure projects. He holds a master's degree in environmental engineering as a DOST ERDT scholar at De La Salle University, Manila in 2023, and also completed his BS in civil engineering at the Eastern Visayas State University in Tacloban City, Philippines. He attended the Southeast Asia International Joint Research Program on low carbon and green energy in 2020 and on environmental technology for SDG goals and net zero emissions in 2023 at the National Tsinghua University in Hsinchu, Taiwan. As a DOST, Science and Technology Expert Volunteer Consultant, he is involved in S&T-based solution to the environmental impact of flooding, and currently the project investigator of the 5-year program on early warning system for flood mitigation in Binahaan and Palo watersheds in the province of Leyte, Philippines. This is a collaborative project under the DOST Innovation, Science and Technology for Technology-Based Regional Development, or ISTART, amongst 7 municipalities and local agencies with funding support from the Leyte provincial government. He is also a research associate at the Center for Engineering and Sustainable Research at De La Salle University. Our speaker is now based in Thailand, pursuing his doctorate degree in water engineering and management as a Majesty's King's Scholar at the School of Engineering and Technology, Asian Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now welcome and give a round of applause to speak on SDG 11, Flood Mitigation Solutions and the Role of Communities for a Sustainable Living, Engineer Marvin J. Hinogin.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction, Doc Alvin. And I would also like to greet everybody, my former professors, Doc Alex Obando Doc Kathleen Aviso and Doc Raymond Tan. So good morning. And to those participants who are listening, thank you for allowing me to speak in this lecture series. So I'm going to share my screen. And so can you see the screen now?
Yes, it's clear. Go ahead.
Okay. It's 7 a.m. here in Thailand, and it's pretty cold here. Okay, so the title of my presentation would be SDG 11, Flood Mitigation Solutions and the Role of Communities for Living Sustainably. So this is a, inside of this presentation, I'll be talking about the project that we are doing, the 3-year project that we are currently doing in Tacloban City. Okay, so which is funded by the province of Leyte and the DOST. So we have the Eastern Visayas State University and the De La Salle University as partners. And then we have 7 municipalities that are affected, which also, part of the project. Okay, so the outline of my presentation would start with the introduction, which we will be talking about the problem, which is flooding. And then we have SDG 11 as a lens on how to solve the flooding problem. The third would be community's role in living sustainably. So this is the case study of the Binahaan and Palo. And then the flood mitigation strategies that we are trying to use to solve the problem in also the same case study. And then I think the most important part of the presentation would be the takeaways. So what we have learned so far for the 3-year project. Okay, so for the introduction, let me start with this figure here. So according to the Center for Research on the Epidemiology of Disasters, these are the number of disasters by continent and the top 10 countries in 2023. And as you can see, the biggest and the most number of disasters by continent is Asia, followed by the Americas, Europe, and Africa, and then lastly we have Oceania. But one thing that always part of the top 10 countries is the Philippines. And ever since 2010, ever since I looked at their data, the Philippines has always been part of the top 10 countries which has the highest number of disasters, and which contribute there are 3 categories in these disasters that's happening within the Philippines, which is meteorological, hydrological, and then climatological. So these are the disasters that's occurring within the Philippines, which involves flooding, drought, and then typhoon or storms. So these are the occurrences by disaster type 2023 compared to the last 20 years, 2003 to 2022. So and as you can see, the top 2 disaster by occurrence is we have flood and storm. And actually last year, in 2022, the number of disasters occurred in 2022 is less than less than in 2023. So we have around 379 disasters occurred last year as compared to now, which is 399. So we have an increasing number of disasters happening every year. And these are the impact of disasters. So as you can see here the flood, drought, and typhoon. And you can see here these red boxes corresponds to the disasters that are happening within the Philippines. So you can see here storms, typhoons, and then flooding. So and here in this figure, you can see the human impact, the total number of affected people that are impacted with these disasters. And you can see here that the biggest portion or the biggest percentage that are affected with all these disasters are found in Asia, which is 71.4%, having 66.4 million people affected. And I think I don't need to explain the reason of all these disasters is there's this one common problem that the world is currently facing, and that would be climate change. So climate change is that we are experiencing. Everybody is experiencing this climate change, and according to IPCC 2021, we have human-induced climate change is already affecting many weather and climate extremes across the globe. Evidence of observed change in extremes such as heat waves, heavy precipitation, droughts, and tropical cyclones. So, and also in this figure, shows whole Zappo 2020 shows the trend. If the global temperature increases, we will experience all these changes. So we have, like for example, we have extreme weather, we have rising intensity of storms, fire droughts and floods and heat waves. And currently we are here. The current temperature is past 1 degrees Celsius. Okay, so according to IPCC AR6, or the physical science basis of climate change, we have the increase in temperature all over the world's region. So as you can see here, in Southeast Asia, we have been having an increase in temperature with high confidence in human contribution to the observed change. This increase in temperature also causes fluctuations in rainfall. So I didn't say all increase. I mean, the world's in the precipitation in the world's region didn't increase for all the region, because some of them decreased. There is limited data, but some region had an increase in precipitation. And as you can see, Southeast Asia still has an increase in rainfall. So that is for the global literature. Now, let's see at local data. What would the local data would say? Okay. So according to this figure, we have figure 4.1 of the USD Pag-asa. This is they graph the temperature anomaly versus the year. So currently we are experiencing past 1 degrees, and that increase in temperature had rainfall change in the Philippines. So here you can see in this report, in this study of Santos 2021, there is a rainfall change in the Philippines. And as you can see, in most regions in the Philippines, there has been an increase and significant increase in precipitation or rainfall. And then there's this one region where I want you to look at, because this is where I live and this is where the project is. So as you can see here, that's the region 8, where there is an increase and significant increase in precipitation. So which boils down to the main problem of this, in our region, which is this flooding. So I think for all the people who lives in region 8, even without typhoons, we are experiencing flooding. And even in the highest recorded precipitation ever in Pag-asa in region 8 was 398 millimeters for only 24 hours. And just to give you a comparison for that 398 millimeters, Yolanda, or the typhoon Haiyan, the strongest typhoon that visited the Philippines, only brought 231 millimeters of rainfall. And then on October 2011, we have experienced 398 millimeters of rainfall. And even without typhoons, our climate is, since our climate belongs to climate type 3 or 4, we are experiencing rainfall for the entire year. So yeah. So what can we do about this? The question still persists as to what are we going to do to mitigate the impacts of flooding. So according to Hurlburt and others, 2024, community planning using SDG as a lens offers system thinking or the holistic consideration of interconnected priorities. And I think this is a perfect example where our problem really fits, flooding really fits, because as I was talking to some of the officers or officials in barangays in Palo. They were talking that in the one of the government agencies are trying to solve the problem in one particular area. They're trying to build like drainage canals, flood controls to solve the problem within that particular area. However, only to find out that um, the flood in that particular area transfers to another. So that is the reason why we need to think holistically, or we need to consider the entire watershed on how to solve the problem using the SDG. Ayan. So SDG 11 or sustainable cities and communities with the tagline make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So the target that we are currently doing is the SDG target 11.5, which says by 2030, significantly reduce the number of deaths and the number of people affected, and substantially decrease the direct economic losses relative to global gross domestic product caused by disasters, including water-related disasters, with a focus on protecting the poor and people in vulnerable situations. So as I've said, in some of our municipalities that's within the watershed, that's part of the project, 80% of the population belongs to are poor. And if we're going to look at SDG 11 in the Philippines, we are still on the red, which means we are still experiencing major challenges remain. And we are actually stagnating in terms of like development for according to the Sustainable Development Report. Now let's take a look at again this quote, community planning using SDG as a lens. Now there's one particular word that I'm looking at here, the community, because communities are frontliners when it comes to flood planning. Yeah. So what are the community's role? So this is now the case study of Binahaan and Palo watershed. Okay, so the very first thing that you're going to see is the meeting with Palo Mayor, the former Palo Mayor Frances Ann Pitilla. This happened because on February 2021, this is way back 2021, there was a girl, a child who drowned in flood. So excuse me. So former Mayor Frances Ann Pitilla called up the attention of the UST. So we have the former director, John Glenn Ocaña, now the regional director of Region 8. And then we have Dr. Marilyn Radam, the ARD. And then called up the experts from De La Salle University and UP Diliman. So we have Dr. Alvin Colaba, academician Dr. Alvin Colaba, and then Dr. Marla Ridillas at the De La Salle University, and then academician Dr. Guillermo Tabios III in UP Diliman. So I was still doing my master's then during 2021, so that's me. So after this meeting, immediately we crafted a proposal. And the title of the proposal, the initial title of the proposal was SNT-based solution to the environmental impacts of flooding in Palo Leyte. So we did the our president at the Eastern Visayas State University signed a memorandum of understanding with the UST to formally start the project. So we gathered the reports and from multiple government agencies, and then from studies, and then these were our findings. Okay, so according to the DNR 2020, we have seven watersheds within Leyte, and three of them are major watersheds, and 4 of them are minor. So, and if you're going to look at the municipal boundary, the geopolitical boundary of Palo, it is being split into 2 watersheds. So the first one is the upper portion is the Palo watershed, and The lower portion belongs to the Binahaan watershed. And we have two outfalls here, the Bangon River, and then that's the location of your Binahaan River. Now, there's no problem with, initially, I really thought, we thought that, well, there's no problem with, having one municipality belongs to two watersheds. However, when we saw that there were the outfall of these two watershed also is found in the municipality of Palo, that's where the problem started. Okay, so as you can see here, we flew drone. We were basically around here somewhere, flying the drone, and then we took this picture in at the mouth of the river, two rivers. So we have the Bangon River. This is where the water from Palo watershed goes out, and then we have the Binahaan River. This is where your Binahaan watershed. I mean, the water from Binahaan watershed goes out. So this is the two rivers, Bangon River and then the Binahaan River. So this figure shows the Palo watershed, and then we have the two rivers here. Okay, so another findings that we saw was in this elevation. So we have Palo has the lowest elevation within the watershed. So as you can see, this is Palo watershed, and as you can see, this blue color corresponds to 0 to 10 meters. So this is the lowest part of the watershed. So and obviously water flows from higher elevation to lower elevation will always have that. And then we realized that even without rainfall within Palo, within here in this area, within the municipality of Palo, the possibility of flooding is still there, because once if you have rainfall in the upper portion or the upper municipalities, water will always go down to Palo, even if we don't have rainfall in Palo. It's also the same with Binahaan watershed. This is the report taken from the GIZ Assure 2016, and it shows that the entire municipality of Palo in this red area is prone to flooding. So, and they declare that 13 kilometers of Palo in this portion here is, including Tanawan, the municipality of Tanawan is a floodplain. Okay, so those are the immediately right after finding out that the reason why the reason of flooding in the municipality of Palo, we immediately went to the people. We immediately reported all these findings to the barangay to the barangay officials, so that it's not only, the problem doesn't only start in Palo, but also at the upstream municipalities. So we also parang give lecture to EBSU student assistants, because we need assistance on the data gathering. And then we have EBSU faculty researchers. And then finally, we had a meeting with the Leyte governor, the former Leyte governor, Mick Pitilla in the province of Leyte, to secure funding for the next proposal that we are proposing. So the next proposal after that was the establishment of an early warning system for flood impact mitigation in Binahaan and Palo watershed, and we were able to create a memorandum of agreement, and it was signed in 2024. I want you to think about the timeline here. The project started way back 2021, and after that, there has not been much progress in 2023, mainly because of political and government issues. So after the MOA signing, we have the equipment turnover. So this is February, this is April, equipment turnover ceremony, and then finally we were able to install the equipment. But mind you, they were able to buy the equipment in, I think, 2023, and it took over a year for us to install the equipment because of like the ceremonies and the formalities, basically. Yeah, so this is the first inspection and the monitoring of the of uh, uh, of the equipment. So this is like the this is like before I left the Philippines to go in here in Thailand. Okay, so these are the flood mitigation strategies that we are thinking. The very first one was my thesis, the allocation of floodwater to existing demands and sinks. I am trying to, parang in this study, we are trying to look at what are the existing demands within the watershed. So since um, since Palo and Binahaan watershed is mostly uh, irrigated areas, and there's the second biggest peatland in the Philippines. We wanted to allocate or distribute the flood water within all those areas, and in fact, that is already parang being practiced in other countries, such as in European countries and in the US. So that's what we're trying to plan also. And then we have the early warning system. That's the second proposal that we did. And then eventually we will move to nature-based solutions. And then finally, we have soft engineering solutions. So basically, in soft engineering solutions, we are trying to incorporate hard engineering solutions and then nature-based solutions together. Okay, so takeaways. What have we learned for the last 3 years? So what have we learned? So the very first one, it says communities are frontliners when it comes to flood planning. However, it is evident that they need collaboration to other agencies to create solutions, according to Herbert. And this is very true, no? We need to go to their level so that they would understand that they are also part of the solution. An example for that is these people needs to learn how to to clean their surroundings, because when we have a lot of garbage, then it would clog the drainage canals, and then it cause flooding, something like that. So the next one would be lack of actions from local government was one of the reason why there was an increase of flood vulnerability in the study area. So yeah, and then the third one is success of both management approaches depends on governance and institutional capacity as well as technological advances. And then finally, we have ultimately integrated flood management will involve solutions tailored fit for individual situations, and implementations may be slow, such that perseverance and political commitment will be needed. So it was pretty slow. The start of this project was very, very slow. However, it was mainly because of the political issues and stuff. But as soon as we were able to get the date, I mean the equipment as early as this year, we were able to start the data gathering. So yeah, that's it for my presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Engineer Marvin, for sharing your project. And definitely, this project is very timely, especially the Philippines actually sees a lot of typhoons, especially in this time of the year. And for the first question, we have one question posted in our chat box. This is coming from Christine De La Cruz. And mainly, you mentioned that your project is a huge project across 3 years and working with various LGUs. The question is, how did you deal with political conflicts, and how was it the project progressed at the grounds?
At the beginning, it was very hard for us to penetrate on the government level. We have the higher than the provincial level, because we don't have we don't know anyone. So we went to the provincial and then to the municipal level, which is still a challenge. So what we did was we went there personally and talked to them, and then we let them understand that this is happening. The problem is really there, and because it's not really their parang uh, it's not their priority per se. So all they need is actually to understand that the problem is existing, and it's something like that. So we just let them understand.
Okay, thank you so much, Marvin, for that. We have another question from Tim Ward, and he asked, what type of data are being gathered? Precipitation, evaporation, stream flow. Will you have any centralized data repository?
Yes, we are currently gathering precipitation, and stream flow and evaporation. Yes, that's the three, and we will have a centralized data repository. And in fact, for now, we created a Google Drive where everybody is going to input their data within that Google Drive, and everybody has an access to it.
Okay.
Can I
Thank you.
just add, Aris,
Okay.
to what Engineer Nogin, okay, to the question earlier, politically, that was a question about political, yes, that's true. No, at the ground level, the local government units are really very important. No, in the case of the project, which of course I'm involved with in this project, we deal with the provincial governor. Is the one who actually governs all the municipalities in a particular province. This is the case, of course, here in the Philippines. That's how it is. So the leadership of the local government, provides guidance to these different municipalities, considering that in this particular project, we are dealing, apart from Palo, 6 other municipalities, So they actually had a hand, no? Especially if they are in the same political, affiliations, it's much easier to work, no? If they are in different political organizations or political parties, that becomes more, challenging. But again, if the local government, like the provincial governor, is really, proactive, is also pro SNP, leader, then he can actually drive all the municipality leaders, to the mayors, particularly the mayors, no, to work, together. But again, I think what Engineer Hinogen actually did, is to to report the initial actually assessment and the real problem, and it was presented to the different municipalities and let them understand the real problem, and that is where they were able to draw, together, because they will not be able to solve the flooding problem, for example, in Palo, without the 6 other municipalities involved in addressing the flooding, in their area, or maybe even the management of the watershed, so that water will not flow down, to the floodplain, to the lower part of that province. So they have to work, together, and also. Related to the second question, most of the studies undertaken, which they usually draw their plans from, are already 10 years ago. I remember we had a meeting the other night with Director Eric Paringit of the DOST Pishir. No? He mentioned he used to be the lead project leader of the LIDAR project of the Philippines. They did this hazard mapping. He mentioned that many of the studies undertaken by these, commission projects funded by international organizations are 50 years, 20 years outdated, data. So we made it very clear, to these municipalities, to Palo, for example, and Leyte, that if you want to solve the problem of flooding, you need to have real-time data. You need to collect this data and information. And this has to be current. This has to be updated. You cannot draw your plans and solutions for your flooding mitigation, if you base your data on outdated, information, So that's why this particular proposal of installing these devices, these are Marvin, no? These are strain gauges. These are what else is that?
Rain gauge,
Rain
rain
gauge.
gauge, and then the
Yeah.
evaporation pan.
And they are installed in strategic areas in the watershed, and the local government and local officials, the community, are trained to, in the lull period, because 2021, when this project started, in 2022, we have the mid-year national elections, right? So there was a change of leadership. I think this brings again to the question, so you have to deal with this, that's why Engineer Hogan was mentioning that there's not much has happened, but that's not necessarily true. Marvin, you were training people. You were
Yes.
doing the soft side of the work. You were
I was
meeting
doing the lecturing.
with the local government. You were with the barangay officials, with the community level people. You were training them. Letting them understand and appreciate the problem and these instruments, But the procurement of the government takes a long time, so that it was only months before Marvin is to leave for Thailand. These instruments actually arrived, and they successfully installed them in strategic areas, and the data are now being actually collected by the people themselves. Not even by researchers from Eastern Visayas State University or from the Department of Science Technology. We are training people on the ground how to utilize, install, utilize, maintain, take care of that. Otherwise, probably somebody will steal it and then sell it. So they have to take care of that. And now we are at the level, Marvin, of gathering data. They are the ones gathering data. You develop this instrument, what data to be gathered, the frequency, and then later on teach them how to analyze the data. And the most important is, what do you do with this data? What solution can you actually think of? What are the low-lying fruits, that you can implement at the ground level to mitigate flooding or the impacts of flooding based on this data. So they now understand the value of the data. That it is actually the most essential component of any flood mitigation solution. You have to use current data, because over time, Leyte is always visited by typhoon. So the geophysical profile of the watersheds, the river systems, etc., change over time drastically because of these events that are happening. And therefore, the data must be current. Marvin, you didn't mention about measuring the profile of the river. Reader, when we have to do manual monitoring, we don't have instruments. But this is also done in the US. We were taught by, according to the academician, what's his, Tabios, to get the rate of the water flowing, we used what? An orange fruit. We throw it from one point, follow its flow, and that can be done for scientists. You can do crude methods, but data is critical, and that is what recognizable now by municipalities. So anyway, thank you, Marvin, for sharing your study.
Thank you so much, Doc Alvin and Marvin, for updating us on the progress of the project. We have a comment from Ms. Agnes De Jesus, and she mentioned that there's already a draft of a nature-based solution policy, and this might perhaps help in this type of project moving forward. Also, we have a question from Dr. Raymond Tan, and he mentioned, to what extent are climate change projections being used to plan proactive measures? Average weather condition 5, 10, 15 years from now are likely to be different from what they are today.
Well, Raymond, we are looking at 30 to 50-year return period because we cannot just handle the 100-year return period rainfall. That's too big for that's just too big. I mean, the amount of rainfall for 100-year return period in Tacloban City or in Leyte is just too big. So we are looking at 30 to 50-year return period. Even with 30 is still big, and then 50. So we are trying to use 30 and 50. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Marvin. Also, I have a curious question since I know that part of the project is also your thesis. Uh, I'm curious, how were you able to select that specific topic for your thesis? And are there other opportunities similar to you? There might be other researchers that would want to be part of this project. What are there still opportunities for them to align their ideas or topics with this project?
Definitely, Doc Aris. We are inviting researchers because for now, I am the only one who manages the project in Tacloban City because I live in Tacloban City, so they made me the project leader. But and I don't have anyone for now. So yeah, I am opening the door to everyone who wants to collaborate with this project. It's there's just still a long way to go. We're still starting with data gathering, so I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things we can talk about or we can collaborate with. And with regards to my thesis, yes, I started thinking about flooding. That was basically my motivation in doing my master's and PhD. Because of that, because of the Yolanda, because of frequent flooding in Leyte, in Tacloban City. So, and due to like political issues, instead of using hard engineering structures such as dams, pipes, levees, basically concrete structures, I thought of a way like of using the existing um the existing demands within Leyte. So we have what I used was the irrigation, the rice fields because it has been other countries has been doing it, so they've been flooding their rice fields, so that the communities will not be impacted by flood. And also we have the second biggest peatland in the Philippines, and it is not being used properly right now. The one of the government agencies drain the water from the peatland, which is not good, because when it's very very hot, it it's it's caught on fire. So there's like fire in peatland. So we need to restore the water in the peatland. So we can actually use that. Parang we can divert floodwaters to peatland to restore it, basically. So that's the motivation of my thesis.
Thank you, Marvin. I can see Doc Alvin raising his hand.
Yeah. Thank you, Aris. Well, the real challenge really for trying to solve problems, SNT-based solutions at the ground level, is that we lack really people there, competent people there. I think Marvin mentioned already that we need more researchers, and in this area, that is precisely why we brought Engineer Hinogin to LaSalle for his master's degree, primarily to build the capacity, the local capacity. So he has shown in his presentation earlier that Marvin is training students there, and even his co-faculty to get involved in that project so that there will be more people who will be trained, no, at the local level. And it doesn't end at the master's level. That's why Marvin is now continuing his doctorate at the Asian Institute of Technology, hoping that, you know, he will be able to do his PhD thesis related to the problem, on flooding. It need not be at Leyte, for example, or maybe that could be a good case study, but solving the bigger problem of flooding, and what are the scientific approaches or methods that can be used. But the bottom line is we need to build more capacity. We need more people, the people on the ground. So we need more PhDs, more Marvins there, more masters. In fact, we're trying to convince many young engineering students and graduates at the universities in the region to pursue a career through scholarships in this area of water resources, disaster. They are needed on the ground because why we need to get people from LaSalle, from UP. We have to bring them to Leyte, but in the future that is not sustainable. We cannot depend on experts from other places. They have to have their experts there in Leyte. And hopefully, the case of Marvin is a good example where he started, his interest, get his training at LaSalle, earned his master's, went back there, continued the project, the research, and now he's continues PhD. Hopefully, Marvin, you're coming back for sure, no? You're not working abroad after. So he goes back to Leyte, applies his knowledge, and train more people, local people, more masters and more PhD. Maybe eventually they set up a PhD program, and that is what really the most critical. Because this problem will not go away. Marvin will not be able to do it alone. He needs to collaborate with more expertise, with more researchers, not only with EVSU, but other universities in the region. And that's why we're trying to bring them, together so that they can collaborate and we can have that critical mass of people working on this complex and, real world community-based problem. In the case of, later, this is flooding, because it costs a lot, as already shown in the literature. The impact on the economy and infrastructure and people is huge. So I think Marvin has a huge, responsibility. Do you, when you come back, on how to alleviate the impact, or hopefully, because the common, just for the information of everyone here, on the average, it takes about 3 days, right, Marvin, for a flooding to stay. So to
In
subside.
Palo, sir.
Yeah,
In
in
Palo,
Palo,
sir.
3 days. You can just imagine 3 days. If we are able to reduce that to a day or even hours, from 3 days to hours, because we can reallocate, the waters to different, to the pitland,
Areas.
the wall. I think that would already be, but that has to be based on science, based on the data, and that is what we, this project is intended to do. So those instruments, and for the information also of my colleagues here, the local government now is now convinced. They told us that they have money, right, Marvin? They told you they have ₱1 million. They don't know what to do for disaster.
Yes, sir.
Now they know what to do with it. They can buy instruments. They can, use it to hire people. In fact, Palo Leyte, they hired an engineer, full-time engineer, just to be their flooding engineer, after we are doing this project. So the municipality are now, realizing the need for technical people, for competent people to deal with, with this problem. Hopefully, this is the way to go for communities to live, sustainably. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alvin, for clarifying those items. Also, thank you, Marvin, for your time and sharing your expertise and project for today's session. And may I invite everyone to join me in thanking our speaker for today, Engineer Marvin Ginogin, and giving him a round of applause for his lecture this morning in the LaSalle Lectures Sustainability Lectures. So thank you so much, Marvin. Okay, so I guess that's all the time that we have for this lecture series. And in our screen, may we request some of your feedback for us to improve further delivering this sustainability lecture series. And we have in store another session on August, and we'll inform you, send you the details for the August lecture. So again, thank you so much. I'm Aris Obando again. Thank you. And I'll see you again next month. And I think that's it.
Aris, can we have photo op?
Yeah, we can.
Let's do a photo op. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let me just bring in the gallery mode.
May we invite our participants to turn on their cameras if they can?